Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Monday night, and welcome to a very special part one of a two-night plate exchange special. I'm Steve of On the Ring Apron. My partner, Kia, my partner in crime, is a little occupied this evening, so she is actually not here tonight, so it'll be just me doing the talking. So for anyone who enjoys listening to Kia banter on the other side, sorry, you'll have to do without her, at least for tonight. We're going to see if she can finagle a little more time to jump in tomorrow, but as you know, over the last couple of weeks, we've been enjoying Summerslam, NXT TakeOver 30, and most recently Payback. And over the time, we have had a number of title changes, in which case we need new plates. So as we always do, we start off with the championships that we don't have new plates for quite yet. Yesterday at Payback, we do have a new United States champion in the form of the almighty Bobby Lashley. Going into his second reign, he defeated Apollo Crews to win the championship. We did have Apollo Crews plates, unfortunately, because he lost, unable to put those on there officially. We'll see if maybe we can't put those on there and get some pictures for you. We also recently have a new Intercontinental champion. Is in the hands of Jeff Hardy. He is going into his fifth reign as Intercontinental champion. He won back on August 21st when he defeated AJ Styles on an episode of Smackdown, and has been waiting to see who his next challenger is going to be. So we will find out who that is. No plates on him yet officially. We'll get to those when we've got them. And of course, as always happens, you know, the 24/7 title has changed hands so many times that we'd have a plate exchange every, a couple times a night if we had to do over every single one. Luckily, no plates to swap. But right now, the current title holder is Akira Tozawa. He is in his, hold on, let me check my notes here. He's in his fourth reign as 24/7 champion. And he won it a few nights ago on Monday Night Raw in a fatal four-way match to become the champion. So a couple of titles that will get some plates here coming up, but let's get to the ones that we can get to. Typically what we do, for anyone who has never joined us before, is we go ahead and take the plates off of all of them except our biggest one. So that will be, of course, saved for the very end. The first title we will be changing is the Raw Women's Championship. As you can see, currently, no plates are on it. It was most recently held by the boss, Sasha Banks, as part of Two Belts Banks, but she was defeated by Asuka at SummerSlam, so therefore Asuka will be going back on the title belt once again. Asuka wins the championship for the second time in her career, and she is actually the 18th different person to have held this particular iteration of the championship since it was announced as the Women's Championship back at WrestleMania 32. Of course, the storyline kind of brought to an end here with Asuka, of course, losing the Raw Women's Championship to Sasha Banks with a little assist from Bayley in the attack and subsequent retirement of Kairi Sane. But Asuka able to get it back after she was unsuccessful in winning Bayley's Smackdown Women's Championship earlier in the same night. So Asuka now sitting here holding the Raw Women's title for the second time in her career and in this calendar year. So we now wait to see who is going to be her next challenger. I assume we will find out more information on that on Raw. And you see some of the competitors that are potentially getting ready to be her next challenger. You figure people like Nia and Shayna are otherwise occupied. We'll be speaking on them in a couple of minutes here. The Iconics are right now been unable to really get anything going as of late. Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott appear to be reformed up as a tag team, as it looks like they've revamped the Riott Squad. So it really only leaves just a handful of names if you're not going to be able to, of course, bring back Sasha and Bayley, who don't have the ability to do so now because of them no longer holding the women's tag titles. So I would have to think that it's either going to be Natalya or it's going to be Bianca Belair. The only question you got to ask is, are they ready to give Bianca that push so young in her career without really making it her first major single storyline? But you can see the Asuka plates back on our Raw Women's Championship, and that is the first of our three. Our second of the three that we'll be switching up is one that we mentioned already, and that is the Women's Tag Team Championships, previously held by the Golden Role Models, the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley and Sasha Banks. Those were the plates that came off. And we now will crown new champions in the form of a very unlikely team, that being of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I don't think anyone, when Sasha and Bayley took over the titles, I don't think anyone would have imagined that these would have been the two that would have been the ones to take down Sasha and Bayley. But they managed to get along last night at Payback long enough to be able to get the job done, went out, celebrated, and they still claim to this day they don't like each other, but the fact is that is a brute team that is going to be very hard for anyone to really be able to take down. Both are winning their first tag team titles on the main brand. For Shayna, it's her first main roster title, period. Nia, of course, had a run with the Raw Women's Championship for a little while a couple of years ago, in a storyline that eventually led her to people like Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey. Shayna, of course, a two-time NXT Women's Champion, but this is her first main roster title as a member of Monday Night Raw. So, of course, this begs the question that now that Shayna and Nia are now the ones who get to go to the different brands, and that, of course, now means that Sasha and Bayley now cannot go to the other brands. What happens to the Golden Role Models? Are they going to be able to talk them into coming to Smackdown to give them a rematch? Do we see it in a couple of weeks in Clash of Champions, or do we have new challengers? Maybe a team like Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, who just recently won at Payback in a match against the Iconics. Perhaps they line up to be the number one contenders. You also have some good tag teams coming out of NXT as well, who potentially could challenge for the titles. But, as we said, for the first time, the new champion plates on there for Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, so congratulations to the two of them. And then our final main roster one is, of course, the big one for the big dog, and that is the Universal Championship. The Universal Championship, originally, when we last had a plate exchange, was held by Braun Strowman. But at SummerSlam, he was successfully defeated for that very Universal Championship by the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. So, for the moment, as you can see, we have the Fiend plates currently on our Universal Championship. The Fiend would only hold the title, unfortunately, for 7 days before he was subsequently defeated by the returning Roman Reigns. So at this point, we now have to, unfortunately, for a lot of people out there, we now have to take the plates off of the Fiend plates back off so soon after putting them on there, and we have to put them on Roman. A couple of notes, by the way, on some of the titles we were talking about before this. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are the 7th different tag team champions teams to hold it. Of course, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross held it twice. Bayley and Sasha held it twice. Both of them, as we said, holding it for the first time. Just some fun facts here while we're getting these plates off to switch them over. Jeff Hardy winning the Intercontinental. He is the 176th different Intercontinental champion that's recognized by WWE. Bobby Lashley becomes the 169th different United States champion recognized. We said that Asuka is the 18th. Akira Tozawa's 24/7 win makes him the 106th different 24/7 champion. And for Roman Reigns winning the Universal Championship, for him it will be his second reign as champion. He held the Universal title a couple of years ago. He will be the 14th different Universal champion, of course, as we said, going into his second reign. So Fiend plates are off, and the Roman plates now getting ready to go on. Coming back in a shocking way. A lot of people weren't sure how long he was going to stay away. Of course, for those of you who aren't aware, he did leave just before WrestleMania, giving up his Universal title shot to go home to make sure he took care of himself during COVID, his battle with leukemia, of course, compromising his immune system. I in no way fault him for making that choice, and whether you like his heel run or not, the fact is, he did what he needed to do to take care of himself, his wife, his family, his kids, including 2 unborn children at the time. So, he did what he needed to do, and as a father, I can respect that decision. But he comes back and does what people have been asking him to do for years, and that is turn heel. And he does so in my opinion, the best way you can do so other than turning on a long-standing team, and that is to team up with the one and only Paul Heyman, who, of course, has captained people like Brock Lesnar to championships, and then even been the mouthpiece for some lesser-known people, such as like Curtis Axel, who was an Intercontinental Champion during his time. Of course, CM Punk for a little while when he was still with WWE. So the fact is, people who team up with Heyman tend to be successful, and Roman wasted no time. His first official match back, he wins the Universal Championship, beating both Braun Strowman and The Fiend at Payback when he pinned Strowman after they had imploded the ring. A little bit of fancy, I guess, work with the contract to allow Reigns to enter the match significantly later. He was fresher. A little bit of a gaffe there that almost cost Reigns the match, but ultimately he gets the job done, and as a result, we do have, for the second time in 7 days, a new Universal Champion, and it is the big dog Roman Reigns, and I've got a feeling that he is not going to be letting this title go, so take a good look at this one, because it may be a while before you see this one on Plate Exchange again. So, as we said, this was night one of a special two-night Plate Exchange special. Of course, you've noticed we've gone through main roster titles, so of course, you've probably figured out that tomorrow will be the NXT Championships. We have had a number of title changes. We do have a new North American champion in Damian Priest. We have new tag team champions in the form of Breezango. We finally have the plates for Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight Championship. And then, of course, tomorrow night on NXT, a special Tuesday night edition, there will be a 60-minute Iron Man match between four former champions, Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, and Tommaso Ciampa, with the winner becoming a two-time NXT champion. So, we are going to hold a Plate Exchange before NXT, and then I plan on holding a very short one after to crown the new NXT champion. So there will actually be 3 episodes over 2 nights, this being the first. So for those of you who took the time to come out and join me this evening, thank you very much. We appreciate everything you've done. As we said, over 600 new followers over the last month leading into SummerSlam. You guys are just so amazing. You continue to inspire us. You continue to push us to want to put out great material, so this is why I love doing every second of this. I'm going to do everything in my power to try to get the scheduling worked out to where Kia will be able to join us tomorrow. I know you guys love hearing her 2 cents back there, and we miss her. We've got some exciting questions with the Queen that I know she's excited to bring your way later this week. But hey, let's get ourselves ready for Monday Night Raw tonight, and then of course a special Tuesday NXT. So I'm Steve of On the Ring Apron. This has been Plate Exchange. You guys have yourself a great night.